So that hopefully explains a couple of things. One, how to take off, normally quite difficult to take off work such as curve sections, how to turn it on when you need to draw a curve section, and how to turn it off once you're complete on the particular curve section. You can also do that curve section in area takeoff, lineal takeoff, vertical takeoff, any takeoff that is available there. You can use the curve section in, and it is available on the draw down menu, curve section. And as such, you turn it on when you come to your curve section, and you turn it off when you've completed the takeoff of that curve section. Once done, you can simply return your result back out of the system and into the calculation sheet as with the other takeoff. Finally, and the last section I'm going to look at is a very important section with regard to time-saving features in BTOS. Specifically, there's a bit of a question coming in there. How can you reload the drawing with shapes next time you work with it? Not 100% sure what you mean by that, but I'll go into, say, the bow takeoff that we did there. I just highlight the line at the top in the factor column, and I click on the BTOS module, and it will reload the shape that you've done and the drawings last used. Now, you can automatically go to, I'll just highlight here, under options here. And under options, there's an option called settings, and in settings you can indicate whether you want to reload the last image file used. You can see that there, reload last image file. So that would allow you to be able to automatically reload the drawing, to include to have the takeoff placed on top of it. So that's under options, settings, reload last image. So that will automatically reload the image that you used in each drawing screen. So I hope that answers that question. Okay, so coming back out and into one of the more important areas of the BTOS system. It would be important to remember that when using BTOS, that any result produced can be reproduced in a different manner. An example of this would be where the initial takeoff required would be only of, say, the area of the study. However, maybe, later in the job or somewhere else in the job, you would need to return the linear meters of the study for maybe, skirting or cornice or whatever it might be. Or you might want to return a vertical wall area of the study. But you've already done the takeoff. As such, you've already indicated you've traced the area of the study. So you don't, in that type of instance, have to redo that takeoff. You can simply call it back up in BTOS, change the result type, and the system will automatically return whatever result type that you indicate. So I'll give you an example of that. This last option here is reuse takeoff. Double click, and the function itself is called the copy drawing function. So what I'm going to do is, as before, activate the BTOS module into the drawing screen. And what I want to do is I want to return, let's say, the lineal meters of the study. So I go to my status bar and I change my takeoff type to lineal meters. Of course, I can come along and change my line color and line thickness. I then go to load my drawing, and again, my drawing is the demo home. So I simply place a tick beside the demo home and click OK. Now, it's the linear meters of the study that I want, but I've already done, as such, I've already traced the walls and the lines for the walls of the study. So you don't have to redo that to return a different result, as in this case, the linear meters. What you do is you use what we call the copy drawing function, which again is an icon on the toolbar. It's got two pieces of paper, one on top of each other with a dogger at the top of both. You just click on that function, and what it will do is it will throw up a copy drawing dialog box. And in the drawing name option, you can have a look at all the different takeoff that you've done, both in the job you're in and any other job that you may have done in the system, done some sort of takeoff in the system. So you can copy drawings from jobs you're working on at the minute or any other job. So I'm going to select floor area study, and you may have multiple shapes. I could have taken the floor area of the bed 1, bed 2, bed 3, bed 4. So you just place a tick beside the shape that you want, and you click OK. And it immediately inserts it into the drawing file. Now, because my result is not an area, it's linear, because I've changed it in status, all I need to do is just exit the system, and this time it will bring back the linear result instead of the area, which was the initial takeoff that you did. So the time-saving features, just to recap, what it means is that, and I'll just activate BTOS again here using the copy drawing function, is that even though I initially did this takeoff to calculate an area of the study, using the copy drawing function, it allows me to be able to firstly change my status bar to the result that I want, and then use the copy drawing function to throw into the drawing screen the takeoff that I want, and it will immediately calculate the alternative result. So what I'll do is, in another example here, I'll come along and I will take in the kitchen dining room. Wall area was what we took it off as, wall area kitchen dining room. Bearing in mind that my result is now linear meters. Once I tick in it, click OK, it brings that into the drawing screen. And as I say, the original takeoff then was to calculate a wall area of the kitchen dining, but because my result type is now set to lineal, when I exit out of there, it will bring back into the calculation sheet just the lineal result for the shapes that are done. So that is one of the crucial time-saving features in BTOS, the ability to be able to reuse takeoff that you've done elsewhere in the job, and from that takeoff return a different result. And that is the copy drawing function. Because that's such an important function, I'm just going to activate this again and show you where that is on the toolbar. It is the two paper icon with two doggers at the top. Once clicked, it allows you to view any of the takeoff that you've done and drop it into the current takeoff screen, and depending on what result you've indicated up the top, it will return that result, that alternative result. Okay, if there's any questions, please fire away now. That pretty much ends the webinar for this morning. Just before we go, I just want to remind you of two more webinars in this series of 4 that are happening. One on the 29th of June, which is a tender analysis 2, which is as such a follow-up to the webinar that was done on the 1st of June. However, it is an independent webinar. It isn't as such a follow-on, although it does deal with tender analysis, and specifically a module in Buildsoft called BETS, which is Buildsoft Electronic Tendering System. And a few other topics will be included in that, and that is on the 29th of the 6th. The week before, which is next week, as with all of the other webinars, an email will go out to you all with an invite. So if you're interested in that, and what's subsequent, if the 29th doesn't suit you, what has happened with a lot of the other webinars, because of the demand, an extra day has been added in with 2 more webinars. So the 30th, if that suited you, that might there more than likely will be another webinar on that day. And then the final one in this series of 4 is on the 13th of July, and we're entitling that Top Tips. But strictly speaking, what that means is it will be the most asked queries in Buildsoft, things like importing and exporting from sell, importing and exporting from other types of systems using the site UK standard for interoperability between systems. So there's a multitude of updating rates, and there's about 10 different topics that will be covered in that as such top tips webinar, which is on the 13th of July. So I hope you can join us for that. What will happen, there's a second webinar going to occur about 10:30 this morning, and then what we will be doing, we'll be sending you all an email with some support documentation for the BTOS module and what we've covered this morning in the webinar. There'll also be a link to a movie file which will allow you review this webinar and go over any particular section at your leisure. It's a Windows Media format, so all you do is just click on the link and the movie will start to play. And as I say, it's a recap. Well, it's an actual recording of one of the webinars, and that will allow you to be able to stop and pause and go forward and rewind in certain sections. Should you want to recap on anything that went through this morning. So that one should go out to you before lunch or just after lunch today. And as I say, it will incorporate some support documentation on the webinar, and it will also incorporate a movie file for you to review at any point in time. Okay, thanks very much for your time this morning. We ran over a little bit, but thanks again. And if you have any questions or queries that crop up to you later on, as I say, the email, the details will be going out before lunch or just after lunch. So you can reply to that email and we'll answer whatever question you may have. So thanks very much for your time, and goodbye. Good morning.